What if I told you that you will never truly be understood? No matter how much you talk, explain, or reveal yourself, there will always be something inside you that will remain inaccessible, invisible, indecipherable. In this video, we'll delve into Nietzsche's ideas, psychology, and modern life to understand why this feeling of misunderstanding isn't just inevitable. It can also be the key to a deeper form of freedom. Think about how many times you've tried to open your heart to someone, believing that this time it would be different. You told them everything, what you felt, what you thought, what you wanted. And yet, when the words were finished, you were left with that strange feeling, as if something essential had been lost in translation. As if the truest part of you still remained untouched. But perhaps what we fear most, misunderstanding, is also the key to our true freedom. From the beginning of life, we carry a silent desire to be truly seen. Children seek confirmation in their parents' eyes that what they feel makes sense. Young people write in diaries and endless messages, hoping someone will finally understand their pain. Adults open up in relationships, therapy, or late-night conversations, believing that if they find the right words, the other person can touch the essence of what they carry inside. But there's always something that slips through the cracks. You've probably felt it. That moment when you struggle to explain an anguish, a dream, or even a rare joy, and even hearing an "I understand," you realize that no, that's not quite it. There's a remnant of silence, a piece of you that didn't fit into language that wasn't translated. It is in this lost space that misunderstanding is born. Nietzsche knew this feeling well. His words were often ignored, distorted, or used against him. During his lifetime, he was seen as mad, eccentric, and incomprehensible. And yet, he continued to write, not to be understood, but because not to write would be to deny himself. He knew that living in search of absolute understanding is living within an illusion. The philosopher believed that human beings are becoming creations in constant motion. We are not statues waiting to be admired, but rivers in transformation. How can anyone expect to capture, in an instant, the totality of a flow that never stops changing? Psychology echoes this view. Jung said that each human being is ultimately a unique universe. We have symbols, memories, and scars that belong to no one else. Our dreams, fears, and fantasies form a private language that only partially communicates with the outside world. We can build bridges through words, art, intimacy, but these bridges never carry the entire landscape. It's like trying to translate poetry into another language. You can keep the structure, the approximate meaning, maybe even the rhyme. But something always gets lost. The secret music, the aroma, the soul. The same thing happens with ourselves. Whenever we try to translate ourselves, something essential gets in the way. And yet we remain hungry for understanding. Why? Because we believe that being understood is proof that we truly exist. It's as if we need the gaze of others to confirm our reality. We seek witnesses to our existence, but we forget that no witness can see the whole picture. Nietzsche would say that this obsession with being understood makes us weak. Deep down, what we ask for is not just that others understand us. We ask that they validate what we ourselves don't fully understand. We want to be deciphered because we're afraid to look at the enigma that we are. We thus live in a constant contradiction. We long to be understood, but we rebel when someone labels us. We like to be seen, but we don't want to lose our mystery. We want others to recognize us, but we reject the confines of a definition. And modern life intensifies this paradox. On social media, we share fragments of who we are. A photo, a phrase, an opinion. We hope these fragments form a true portrait, but what appears there is merely an edited version. Even when we receive hundreds of likes, the feeling is the same. Nobody really knows me. This is the illusion of being understood, believing that there is someone capable of carrying within themselves the totality of who we are. What if this totality can never be translated? What happens when we begin to shape our lives around this hope? When we sacrifice our uniqueness just to fit within the understanding of others? It is at this point that Nietzsche challenges us to look at a harder, but also more authentic path. accepting that misunderstanding is not an error to be corrected, but an inevitable condition of existence. The question remains, if no one can really translate us, what happens when we try to live to be understood by others? Nietzsche wrote one of the most provocative sentences in philosophy: "Get back to who you are." Few sentences carry such promise, and at the same time such threat. Because being authentic isn't simply being yourself, as pop culture likes to repeat. Being authentic is something much more painful. It means destroying inherited masks, breaking with other people's expectations, challenging the roles we've been assigned since childhood. And every time someone dares to do this, they inevitably move away from what Nietzsche called, in the sense, the collectivity that lives by conformity, repetition, and consensus. The more faithful you are to your uniqueness, the further away you will be from common understanding. It's easy to be understood when we follow the social script. Study, work, consume, repeat already accepted opinions. This path is predictable, legible, normal. But those who begin to forge their own path, who begin to speak in a voice that doesn't echo others, soon become strange, eccentric, and uncomfortable. And here's the paradox: the more truthful you are, the less others will recognize you. Nietzsche knew this because he lived it. His philosophy sought not comfort, but to shake the foundations of morality and culture. His contemporaries rejected him, calling him mad, because he dared to say what no one wanted to hear. His authenticity isolated him. His courage cost him understanding. But we don't need to go back to the 19th century to see this mechanism in action. Just look at our own lives today. Think about how many times you've held back an opinion because you knew it wouldn't be well received. How many times have you disguised an emotion, molded a gesture, or even repressed a part of yourself, just to fit in with what others expected? Modern life has created a showcase for ourselves, social media. There, each of us presents ourselves as we would like to be seen. It's not a mirror, but a performance. Authenticity in this space is almost a risk. Showing vulnerability, showing yourself different, is exposing yourself to rejection or worse, silence. And yet, every human being carries this dilemma: to live to be accepted or to live to be authentic. Nietzsche would say that the second choice is the only worthy path, but it comes at a price: the misunderstanding. Those who stray from the herd must learn to walk alone. Those who refuse to wear masks must accept the strange looks, the labels of weird, difficult, complicated. Authenticity is a form of solitude. And herein lies the cruelest aspect. Often, it's not distant society that fails to understand you, it's the people closest to you. Friends, partners, family. The more authentic you become, the more inevitably you discover that not everyone wants or can accompany you on this journey. It's at this point that we feel the true weight of authenticity. We want to be free, but we're afraid of being alone. We want to be authentic, but we crave approval. We want to be unique, but we can't stand being misunderstood. Nietzsche would not soften this contradiction. He would tell us that we must choose. Either we become true to ourselves and accept isolation as our companion, or we surrender to the comfort of the herd and sacrifice our uniqueness. Being authentic, therefore, means choosing incomprehension as your destiny. And perhaps it is precisely at this point that the question becomes inevitable. What is worth more, being understood at the cost of living a lie, or being misunderstood while living your truth? If Nietzsche showed us that misunderstanding is the price of authenticity, psychology helps us understand why it is inevitable even in the closest relationships. Nietzsche believed so. For him, the creative individual should not expect to be understood, because his vision by nature would always be beyond the reach of the majority. Thebion Nietzschean philosophers do not seek approval, nor bow to public opinion. They walk alone, often amid mockery or silence, because they know their truth cannot be measured by mass standards. Being misunderstood is not a sign of failure, but proof of authenticity. Consider all the great creators, artists, thinkers, and inventors in history. Almost all of them at some point have been called mad, heretical, or misfit. Van Gogh, writing solitary letters to his brother, never selling a painting in his lifetime. Kafka, convinced his work should be destroyed because no one understood it. Nietzsche, driven mad and forgotten before becoming the philosopher who would shape the 20th century. Misunderstanding was not an obstacle, it was the ground where singularity flourished. From a psychological point of view, Viktor Frankl said something similar. The meaning of life is radically personal, non-transferable. No one can find your purpose for you. What gives meaning to your existence is something only you can decipher, and probably no one else will fully understand. This is the key: we don't need to be understood to be true. We need to be true to the calling that echoes within us, even if others don't hear the same tune. In modern life, this power is even more necessary. We live in a time when collective approval has become a kind of existential currency. Likes, followers, digital validations. The illusion is clear. The more understood, accepted, and replicated you are, the more you exist. But it's exactly the opposite. The more you mold your identity to fit the gaze of others, the more you lose yourself. Freedom begins when you understand that you don't need to be translated. That you can carry within yourself parts that no one else can access, and that this isn't a weakness but a strength. Being misunderstood can be proof that you are truly creating something new, and not just repeating what has already been accepted. And here lies the Nietzschean twist. Instead of lamenting the loneliness of not being understood, we can transform it into a fertile space. It is in this silence, in this isolation, that true independence is born. It is there that we discover that our identity does not need validation to be real. The world may never understand your deepest motivations, your secret pains, your impossible dreams. But you don't need to be understood to live authentically. You just need to have the courage to carry this enigma with you, without translating it, without reducing it, without apologizing for it. In the end, perhaps this is the greatest paradox. The less we seek to be understood, the freer we become. And that brings us to one last unavoidable question. If misunderstanding is a human destiny, how can we accept it not as a prison but as liberation? In the end, perhaps the greatest illusion in life is believing that one day someone will see us completely. No. There will always be a gap between what we feel and what we can express, between who we are and what others see. There will always be something that escapes. Nietzsche invites us to face this reality not as a defeat, but as a path forward. Misunderstanding is not the void of communication, but proof of the singularity of each existence. If no one can fully decipher us, it is because each human being is an unrepeatable mystery, a universe closed in on itself. And here's the beauty: what separates us also protects us. What can't be translated keeps us authentic. What no one understands about you is perhaps the truest part of who you are. In contemporary psychology, there's much talk about the importance of accepting the essential solitude of the human condition. Not as a burden but as a space for growth. Learning to live with this inevitable distance is what allows us to build more honest bonds. Not in the illusion of fusion but in the acceptance of boundaries. Loving someone isn't about understanding them completely, but choosing to walk alongside a mystery. And in the modern world, where the constant search for approval and understanding imprisons us in masks, perhaps the most radical attitude is precisely this: allowing yourself to be misunderstood. Publishing what you believe even if it doesn't go viral. Living according to your values even if they seem strange. Maintaining your silence when everyone demands an explanation. Accepting incomprehension is accepting our human destiny. It's recognizing that our life is a puzzle that doesn't need to be solved by others to be lived by us. So maybe the question is no longer, who will understand me? But yes, do I have the courage to live even without being understood? And if the answer is yes, then freedom is born. Not the kind we ask for, but the kind we only discover when we stop explaining and simply begin to exist. What if I told you that you will never truly be understood? Now you know it wasn't a provocation, but a truth that accompanies the human condition itself. Nietzsche taught us that living is, in large part, about enduring this chasm between what we feel and what we can express. Psychology confirms this. No matter how much we seek empathy, something will always escape us. And modern life only amplifies this paradox, multiplying voices but deepening inner silences. But perhaps this isn't a condemnation. Perhaps it's a calling. Because if no one will ever fully understand us, it means our lives are a work of art that only we can interpret. Every gesture, every thought, every silence. A fragment of a language that cannot be translated, only experienced. After all, what makes us human is not being deciphered, but daring to exist despite never being fully understood. So, the question that remains for you is simple and at the same time infinite. Do you have the courage to embrace the freedom that comes from being inevitably misunderstood? If you're questioning the world like me, join me. This channel is for people who don't accept easy answers. Subscribe to continue exploring with me the contradictions that make us human.